What up? What up? I'm doing good. How are you today? And for your next nine, you got Southern Miss Intel, Vandals Apex University, Kaiser Junior Soaring, NU Apex Lions, Sunny Canton A, Fuel Esports Apex, Purdue Apex 2, Campbellsville Uni, and WVU Tech Apex. All right, Chase. Well, usually, as some of you may not know, I am actually behind the scenes. Usually, I am working the fly camera, but today I had to step in. And you know, one team that has caught my eye is actually Purdue University. And I don't know, just seeing their synergy and seeing the way that they move, I really do believe that that is a team that I'm going to be rooting for in today's matches.
How they feel out this week, but honestly, their movement is together. All of their landing and everything has been together so far. It's been all really good from all these teams, but Purdue especially.
Absolutely. And I did want to ask you a question, Chase, hearing it from you. What do you think about the new Mozambique meta that's been going around lately? It's something that I've noticed as an amateur player, but something that's very, very difficult to play against, especially like in the lower ranks. I see a lot of people be running that, and I don't have the patience to learn how to run those Mozambiques. How do you feel that has affected the competitive space here during collegiate Apex?
Just like any meta, you just got to adapt to it. And so if you're not a shotgun player, usually back in the R9 meta and back into the spray and pray meta with just SMG and AR, I think you just have to adapt and realize something is that good, even if I have, not the best luck with shotguns, I have to try it out. And even though they had a slight nerf, apparently, it has not affected anything for the meta. The nerfs have only made it kind of brought attention to the Mozambiques as a really, really solid weapon. But honestly, just a really good overall weapon, so you just got to utilize it.
Yeah, I guess so. And like going back to what you were saying, I'm an R301 Volt kind of guy, so I think my stubbornness is the reason why I'm hard stuck. But going into this fly cam over onto the map, we're going to be looking at where these players are going to be landing. I mean, overall game-wise, where do you think is the best place for landing, especially like no matter where the hotspot may be?
I think whatever you're scrimming with your fellow comrades in scrims, you just got to pick a spot and just stick to it, become the best at that rotation. Like no matter where the zone lands, you are the best team to land there. And I think timings are underrated to talk about. There's like certain drift patterns, like you always leave at this particular angle and then you drift that way, so you're the first team to land, because loot is everything early on in the game. If you don't get that designated weapon that you're comfortable with, at least you have a weapon, and then that is kind of the way in which that you win or lose out of lobby early.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you here. And looking at this team comp on Southern Miss, I see we got the Bangalore, we got the Pathfinder, and we got, remind me of this person's name again?
Conduit.
Conduit, right. Oh, and we have another, this is what I was looking for, this Watson, Bangalore, and this Valkyrie composition here. I've been seeing a lot of Bangalore, a lot of Crypto, and a lot of Newcastle. What do you think about the new just team comps overall and how that may be changing?
I honestly really like Newcastle. When they were first released, I was really happy to see how much they were played, because not a lot of the time, in certain games that I'm familiar with, the like character on release is either turbo broken, like everyone hates you for playing the character, or the character itself is, they don't want to buff it too much to the point where it's turbo broken, so it's just not playable at all.
Yeah,
So it's really hard to find that balance. I feel like Newcastle was one of those characters on release that was like perfect. Like they weren't super broken, they weren't super overrated, but overall they were good. But now with all of the changes they've made to Evo shields, and the certain upgrades you can do to Newcastle's overall utility throughout, it's been really, really helpful to see him just really rise and shine to the occasion.
I agree, and it does look like we might be coming up on a fight here pretty soon over by the tree.
Yeah, the team fight is going to be a good one for Wildwing and his squad. And a bunch of white shields on the other squad. And this is the Vandals. Very familiar with this team. They're the GOATs. And I wish them well. But overall, they've played pretty well this tournament thus far. But, you know, everyone can have an off week. And it looks like they are getting boxes here, which means there might be a squad or two that they either gotten downed or it was a flyer that just a random box happened that way. But overall, just rotationary wise, they're thinking about survey beacons, making sure to scan where people are, see which buildings are empty to rotate into. Rotations are everything here early as well.
Absolutely, I 100% agree. Yeah, I feel like watching and producing this kind of like high level competing Apex and trying to bring this into my ranked games definitely has my random teammates kind of confused because they're out looting and then immediately fighting. I'm like, no guys, we got to do rotations, we got to hit every box, we got to hit every Evo cache. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? It's silver, let's just play the game, you know?
Yeah, shameless. Yeah, in ranked, you run into the run-of-the-mill occasional teammate that wants to play properly, and then a lot of people that are just, you know, high eliminations. That's all that matters in my ranked lobbies is the mindset of some of them. But overall, let's take a look at the fly camera here, and it's that engagement we talked about earlier. Some of these blue Evo Shield members and a purple on either side. One has the high ground, one bunkered in a building. I think they're going to decide to just neutrally rotate towards zone and not take an engagement here early. Third parties are, again, a lot of the big issues that you kind of deal with in Apex Legends. If you take the first fight and it's not something that has a severe advantage in your favor, a lot of the time when that fight ends, even if you win it, you will be probably eliminated by another team that heard all of that chaos, all of that gunfire. So you want to be very wary of that.
Absolutely, and I do feel, looking into this, does look like this team that we're specking right now, Akron Apex, might be a little bit of a disadvantage here, as their Wattson doesn't necessarily have purple shields. It's just that new controller buff that they have when they're in the storm. They do get an extra 25 shield, but it does look like the other team is at least 2 purples, and I feel very, very concerned here going into this next fight.
Yeah, that's great that you mentioned that 25 Evo Shield buff for the controller characters, because I was confused seeing that in the prior weeks. But as we get underway here, some shots taking place. These teams finally start seeing each other. I don't know if Tony, the tree cleaner, meant to go on the top of that situation there, and now this is the moment. You get the knock. The self-res happening, though, from the lifeline. Will it be enough, though? And they get knocked immediately after. High ground is controlling this game. One member of this squad remaining, Akron Apex, in a tough situation. Do they want to just craft the banners at this point? I think we just got to get out of dodge here. And the finish happens. And John J. Apex having a similar situation here, completely away from this other fight, where all these revives are happening inside the zone. Absolute incredible fights early on.
And I was just looking here. It's just an unfortunate timing. I mean, I didn't even know that there was another team up in that high ground just waiting to play the pincer maneuver. And now we just got 2 teams going to wait each other out, maybe feel each other. And then looking at the storm here, one team might just be at a disadvantage and gonna have to position themselves in a position that they may not want to be in, and then these other two teams are just gonna collapse on that immediately. And I think this is going to be the game of third parties. Whoever engages first is going to probably get third partied by the team that's just lying in wait, and then the unfortunate team in the beginning is going to be sent back to the lobby.
Yeah, and it seems like that Akron Apex, I mean, their positioning was pretty poor. They had that angle that was available from high ground. They were unwilling to go behind surfaces to be able to negate that damage that came from the high ground. But also the high ground members were able to rotate left and isolate those fights in a positive way. And so they were able to both utilize that cover poorly on Akron's side, but also the rotation positioning that happened from the high ground team, which is Kaiser U, did a really good job of taking that fight on their advantage.
Yeah, and looking at Kaiser U here, you know that the loot boxes are there, and you know that there's something in those boxes that you may need for these next fights. And me personally, I would take the risk, pop a smoke, and then loot up a little bit, but maybe with how cracked these players are, I wouldn't really trust it. It does look like they have one down right next to that pill right there. I'm not too sure what's going on in that little corner, but it's interesting to see that there are more than 2-3 teams here, maybe a fourth. Unfortunate finish there, but
yeah, I don't know if it's worth it giving up the mid ground. You know, there's kind of two high grounds here. One of them is in the mid ground relocation, and you would have to go all the way down to the low ground, be the heaviest target for the entire lobby just to get that loot boxes. And I mean, if I was Bangalore, I'm going for it. I'm dropping all of my bats and all of my cells on the ground, and I'm picking up as much loot as I can
for sure.
For my team.
Shiva out here. Got a buddy of mine who's a real big fan of the Shiva. I don't think I've seen them play anything but Rampart. And that's a fun character to play around. I don't necessarily see the value in these high collegiate states, but again, these players are much better than I am, so their rationale is probably a lot more valid than mine. But I mean, having a minigun as an ultimate is something that's pretty sick to me. It's a pretty fun concept.
I think it's a cool concept as well. I was one of the members of this Apex Legends game that I, worked really hard to level up to get this character. And then I realized I hated the playstyle. So respect to anybody that plays Rampart. It's not my particular playstyle. I like playing more of the fragging agents or info agents, as I've been played a lot in Valorant and other games as well, as getting as much info as possible for my team.
Yeah,
because in ranked, the verbal communication doesn't always work, so you have to scan them and see them on your screen for it to, work.
100%, yeah. And this game has been really good at helping build my patience, because as my ADHD goes, I am not good at sitting around. And do I get punished for it? Yes. But do I still have fun at the end? Absolutely. And having like a wide variety of characters to play through makes the game a little bit more fun. And I do appreciate that these collegiate players aren't necessarily sticking to the hard meta. As you can see, that there's quite a wide variety of characters, of legends, across all these teams. Very respectable coming from just every team that's not playing super hard meta.
I completely agree. That's one thing I love about the collegiate scene, is that everything is viable because no one is like crazily outshining the competition. Everyone is trying to figure it out as they go for the most part. And in these tournaments, they're really quality players, but they're able to force agents or legends that they prefer. And so it's really, really cool to see like a Mad Maggie, right? Mad Maggie is typically not in the meta by any regards. Like, you'll see the Catalyst here is consistently in the meta, but Loba's not. Smiley Robot himself, Pathfinder's not in the meta, and so you see that occur, and so it's great to see the flexibility of these players or lack of flexibility depending on the team.
Absolutely, and it does look like Concord Esports might be in a little bit of a tough spot here. It might look looking like a 2v3 situation. I think the best thing to do here is to just disengage and to try to run to safety here. But Sunny Canton might be looking at a third partying here as they come in from Storm. Might be taking advantage of the other teams in the middle of the fight. Either, I don't know if you would take this to relocate or if you would use this to fight. Me personally, I'm fighting.
Yeah, I would probably try to take this high ground from the team in the center But now as we see Southern Miss taking an engagement here, getting active with the Pathfinder, going into an ultimate, does not matter. PSH Mercury eliminated. Those in charge, not Sunny Canton, but Southern Miss. Very good fight there. Concord Esports now eliminated, and there's 7 squads remaining, 20 members of those squads. One of those squads is only a duo.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting to see that, like, having red shields in something like competitive doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to take fights more often, but I do notice that a lot of teams, regardless of what kind of shield that they have, play with this very passive playstyle. And I want to hear what your input is. Why do you think that is? Why wouldn't you take a fight with red shields against a team that you know has blues or purples or even whites, for example?
That's a great question, and honestly, I would say it just really comes down to that need for a knock, that need for a big advantage, because that's a small advantage. A small advantage, a late game in a 1v1, you know, or 3v3 squad, that is great, right? Those little advantages are ever so helpful for winning a game or winning an engagement. But when there's so many other factors, you see that 7 squads left in the top right there, you're very wary of how slow or how small this zone is and how likely a third party is to take place. And so those engagements need to be very much so in your liking, and being picky is definitely good here for placement points.
Absolutely, and I feel like a little bit of RNG is raining on Mavericks team today, as they do have that supply drop right onto them where their high ground is. Get punished here by the Akimbo 2020s.
Looks like an engagement taking to take place here. University of Southern Miss gets a knocked member of their team, and all that, though that engagement was on their liking, it was unfortunately a little bit of a tough situation going into a big building. I don't think they knew there was a squad in that building. That was, again, a lack of an info agent. There was no Bloodhound, there was no Seeker, there's none of that. So unfortunately, they go down there.
That was perfect timing for what you were mentioning before. Is Southern Miss does have a shield advantage here. However, it doesn't matter if you don't have that info, and if your team gets knocked first, it doesn't matter how much shield you have. You're gonna lose the fight regardless.
Yeah, they were in a great spot too, and that was unfortunately a situation where they had no idea anybody was in that building. Maybe a lack of scouting or a lack of rotations early, or maybe just the false confidence of red shields, like you mentioned, right? You can have a little bit of an edge there, but you have to be so much more aware of how many factors or how many, you know, layers of this onion that Apex holds. There's just too many layers, and all the right timings on sometimes and all of the wrong timings in some points of time as well. I mean, Maverick Purple is sitting in a really good spot here. They're going to look to do some pick damage on these rotations of these other members of these teams.
A lot of work. These teams really, like, concealed their jacket. They need to do a lot of poking out of that door right here. They have a little bit of an opening. I can say, hey, you guys take a break. You guys get a little bit.
Yeah, really big damage with these rampart walls. Fantastic damage. And this is the good balance that they have with this Maverick Purple's composition. They have that controller to control space and anchor down. They have the frag potential and engagement potential that Fuse brings. And they have all the info in the world. The only thing they're lacking is rotations, but that gets immediately taken back because of the info that Crypto brings through scanning and finding the rotations. Now we're going to look at an engagement between Team Gold and Grindworthy's team, L-Chat. Trying to get something figured out here. A lot of smokes, a lot of ultimates utilized, Conduit or Catalyst ultimate utilized to try to get them to back off.
Yeah, it's nice to see they brought that, a recall beacon, respawn beacon. Love that players like still use drops like that as cover in places that don't provide a lot of cover. Really, that adds a lot of layers to the complexity of Apex. And is how you can manage the map overall.
Looks like a knock took place and a finish from another member of their team. Purdue Apex can now take a little bit of a break here, but rotations are going to have to come in soon, so this Catalyst wall is going to be the perfect way to rotate into zone. Some pick damage and a stun happened, but it's not enough to engage when you're still down a member. Now some other teams trying to stay on the edge of this zone, or as Psalm would say, licking walls. So they're going around, just staying on the edge of the zone, trying not to get caught out by any teams here, and just playing as close as they can. Now Maverick Purple utilizing this beautiful ultimate.
I feel like Purdue University has got their work cut out for them as they go in for this engagement, trying to get this final team wipe here. I do believe that they're going to get it, loot up, maybe get some shield swaps in here, but I do think that Maverick is going to be a thorn in the side of Purdue University, as they do, like you said, they got that Sheila, and they have that Fuse ultimate, but they also have a Bangalore ultimate, and they have a Maggie ultimate. That Catalyst wall is very good for rotations. Very interested to see if those are going to be the last two teams, and to see just how that plays out.
I mean, this zone is pulling away from Maverick Purple. Maverick Purple was the opportune spot, but the zone pulls the opposite direction, and they're on the fast side, right? We talked about zones being the slower side or the faster side, depending on where it pulls to. And in this instance, they need to be rotating here pretty soon, and the Sheila will be very beneficial for picking off damage on these rotating teams, and hopefully force them to be the team that gets the third party off.
We have a
Southern Miss is a solo player
here. My favorite type of player is the Rat. I love catching rats whenever I can find them in these Apex games and watching them hold out as long as possible. Big underdog story here. It's just my favorite.
This is a nice little crevice here for a little bit to heal up from Southern Miss. Good damage with the ultimate. 40 shield broken. Hopefully, again, Southern Miss is really hoping these two teams fight each other, and then there's just a last-second Southern Miss victory if the damage incurs properly. Fuse ultimate, boxing them like a fish. Now they can rotate a little bit better here, but Silverhawk was down on shields. Now Debaraka goes to a knocked position. No way to get revived, no lifelines available. Both teams engaging each other now. Hopefully this fight lasts long enough for Southern Miss to have a potential activity here. Maverick 1 HP. 2 squads remaining. It's just Smalls and the solo player.
1v1 situation.
Gonna try to get involved here. The shotgun shots, are they hitting? Maverick Purple is your champions.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie there. I had a little bit of hope for Southern Miss there. I was like, man, but hey, big ups for him connecting those massive shots. I mean, like you said, shotgun meta, you just got to be good with them. And if you're good with them, you can win majority of your one-on-one engagements like that. But very, very good showing from all teams today. And then, what was the team that won again? Remind me.
Maverick?
Maverick.
We'll see it in just a second. But anyways, yeah, massive situation. Perfect situation, though, for the Bangalore solo player to have the lobby in their hands. They have shield advantage, and then they lose to the massive shots. Those were massive in their favor for that other squad. Let's take a look at these replays. Sheila getting involved here a lot of the times too. And again, like you mentioned, Saucy, it's not quite meta, but these collegiate players are playing it like it's a very strong agent in the map pool, or legend in the map pool.
Absolutely. And I think coming into the end over here, I want to mention that Crypto ultimate was pretty devastating to Purdue University. I mean, without that Crypto ultimate, without that stun there, I feel like they would have been had a little bit harder time trying to win that fight. But I mean, as soon as they got that Fuse ult down, they said, you know what, Crypto ult full engage. Actually, no, I'm wrong. They had that knock, and then they committed the Crypto ult and cleaned up the rest of it.
They cleaned that up pretty well. And again, I literally could not have written a script better for this Bangalore player. And then the massive shots were just absolutely incredible from Maverick Purple there. They did such a great job wrapping up that end game with, again, shield disadvantage. No shield swap occurred, and it was just a one fuse and a dream, and it worked out well for that team. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back in just a few. We'll see you guys in a bit. All right, just a second. We'll be on that break in a moment, but not quite yet. Any final thoughts, Saucy, before we get into map number 2?
I mean, I want to see them switch it up a little bit. I'm not too sure how much we have in the budget to see them switch up their agents or their legends. But I want to see some people have some fun. I want to see some Octane players. I want to see some more Valkyries out there. I mean, maybe some Lifeline. Who knows?
Yeah,
but
we did see one Lifeline, and it worked out in their favor. They got that revive, and then the high ground team just rotated perfectly to the left on the edge of that zone there, and it worked out in their favor. But yeah, I like the idea of Lifeline being a meta, being able to revive in late games is super helpful. But overall, honestly, I haven't seen enough of the agent or legend I love the best. I love Ashe. I love seeing Ashe play, the snares happening, the teleport engagements. It's super fun, but we never see it quite as often in this rotation of sorts. But let's take a look at the updated points for all these teams before we go to a break here. And from your bottom to your top here, and number 18, WVU Tech, SEMO, Apex Ruby, ASE, Apex Gold, Campbellsville University, NU Apex Lions, Fuel Esports Apex, OSO Apex Legends, and Concord Esports Apex. And for your next 10,
we have Akron Apex, John J Apex, Sunny Canton A, Vandals Apex University, Mercury, Purdue Apex 2, WFU Apex, Kaiser Uner Soaring, Maverick Purple, and Southern Miss Intel.
And that has changed a lot from last week. And so Purdue has been typically in that top 5 spots. Vandals was even in that top 5 spot. But after that absolute incredible showing from Maverick Purple and Southern Miss, doing a really good job getting those placement points, you can see how dramatically they've shifted to the top 2.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but Southern Miss did have that Bangalore player that was ratting in the top 3. Yeah. I'm curious to know how much knocks that they got in that final engagement, because Maverick looked really strong going into that engagement, and I'm sure some of those knocks could be accredited to Purdue University as well. But I do think that Southern Miss, that Bangalore did do a lot of work in that fight. Wasn't just them waiting it out, waiting for that 1v1. I do believe that they knocked the Sheila or knocked the Rampart and then waited their turn and then waited for the perfect moment to make their engagement.
I completely agree. And that's why I was surprised too. The Bangalore just not only showed themselves, but they were active in fighting the 1v3. Like, both those teams could have immediately said, okay, for 5 seconds, turn real quick, shoot this individual that's alone, then we'll go back to the team fight. But they all ignored that Bangalore, and so Bangalore got a bunch of free damage, which probably led to some eliminations, especially on that second team. So really good job from
I think that's because Purdue was the only one that had sights on them, but they didn't have that Recon Legend. Mavericks had that Recon Legend, but they had their eyes set on Purdue University.
I completely agree. Yeah. Very good analysis there. The Recon agents were just so moth to a flame focused on that other team, because they're like, okay, the solo player, will deal with them later. And so that led almost to their downfall, but it worked out in their favor because that fuse popped out and worked out really well to getting that last elimination. All right, we're going to take a quick break here, and they'll be right back into some more Apex Legends action. Welcome back again to your ECAC broadcast. All these legends are flying into the arena, and they're getting into the action as we speak. Lava Fissure is your hot zone, and it looks like King Streams TV on that Twitch is going to be landing there with their squadron.
If you direct your attention to the top right of the map here, it does look like Southern Miss Intel, and I cannot tell the color of that, but I think that's Purdue or Camsbell. They might be getting into an early engagement here.
Early fight, and it looks like a team wipe. Yeah, they are no longer with us in the game, of course, and now they are in the lobby. That is a quick engagement. Purdue making quick work of that team.
I don't think it was Purdue because their Evo level hasn't changed at all. I think it was another team that knocked
them out. I had
him
in top right. This is bottom right.
Yeah.
You're correct. I would say Purdue does not seem like the team that they would have gotten out of an engagement and been at yet. It's almost impossible to be at Gray Shields after an engagement early.
And even if you do a little bit of damage, that Evo shouldn't remain at 450, excuse me.
Yeah.
Hey, Purdue, we're still in it.
Some other engagement potentially happening here, or just some people that are liking the sound of these grenades. And that is not true. We have a Rampart taking an engagement here. Chase the Killer and SEMO. Apex Ruby trying to take a fight here. Good Nemesis shots. But is it enough for an engagement fast? These zip lines are so deadly if you go on them too early, right into a player. It's just free sight lines. And I don't have that It's Timmy's movement, man. I just get beamed right off those things.
Absolutely, yeah. And it does look like SEMO Apex Ruby does seem to be a little bit more aggressive than I'd like to be. I mean, this is a team with, I think, some purples or some blues here, and they're taking this engagement really, really heavy. I mean, being a little bit more confident than I would be personally, but hey, more respects to them. Looks like the other team is going to be spreading out a little bit, maybe trying to get a little bit more angles on them, and a evac tower is popped. Is that enough for an engagement? Are they going to get knocked off of this evac tower? We'll see.
I think they really want to rotate, but Zealous is very nervous because going, again, straight up in a line, you're almost guaranteed to get knocked if you're that low of HP. And this is the Vandals. Taking this engagement, one person went up, but the other members of their team went to try to fight. Zealous goes from knocked to fully eliminated. And again, that was that member of the squad that was very low HP. They were probably the guinea pig or pig to the slaughter, said, hey, I'll jump at these guys. You guys get out. You'll craft my banner later. Maybe it was one of those kinds of calls. But overall, Zealous goes down. Not a full squad wipe. That other team still has the capacity to make something happen in an endgame here.
Right, I think they might have left one behind. It did look like only one person had the health economy to make it onto that zip line, and the other person was still very, very much low. So I think they might be searching here for a little rat.
I think there is a rat somewhere, and they're finding out where they are. But again, that other squad member is going to be probably crafting 2 banners here pretty soon, unless this Newcastle gets out of dodge here.
All right, is it worth letting the team get the KP and get their points up, or do you feel like you have the movement to get out of there so that your teammate isn't running a 1v3 against the entire lobby?
Honestly, on Newcastle, I would have just taken the hit, but Zai somehow hitting the best hide-and-seek shenanigans I've seen in some time here, but it looks like they're rotating into another team.
Oh
no, Zai's the only one left. So yeah, I think the other one
out.
Got knocked maybe mid-air or something.
Maybe.
On that cracked shield engagement, they didn't have enough normal health for that, or
respawn beacon right next to this crafter. And right before he rises, I do want to try this out. It's something I want to call the Rat Cam air horn. So Rat Cam. That's beautiful. I love that. I love that works. Jace, are you still with us?
I am indeed still with us. I am just figuring out, the Mozambiques are doing some wonders here, and an engagement happening indoors. Watson is going to reign supreme, and so Now they're going to have to find a different doorway, and guess what? There's some Catalyst shenanigans on that wall. The damage is not quite enough. Vandals Apex, eliminating Akron Apex. And now they're sitting in a good spot here. Blue shields all around. And just healing up to do. No respawn beacons, no finished teammates. It's looking good for Vandals.
Is that Purdue University with a knock there and OSU Apex on the engagement?
It seems so. OSO is going to be looking to take some loot from these Purdue boxes, and Purdue typically doing a great job staying alive long in these lobbies and eliminating some members. And that was your prediction, I believe, if I'm not correct. So, Caster Curse, maybe?
My fault.
But overall, we're going to see SEMO, Apex Ruby, getting some more HP online, but it looks like they're already recovering another banner. After they revived, they must have engaged another team, or some people seeing that ship fly back, knowing that they would be low on loot and low on shields. Zai still alive and ratty, though.
Yeah, sometimes you're playing Apex, sometimes you're playing Cross Country Simulator, but I mean, it's what you got to do sometimes to get those placement points up.
I completely agree. It's a lot of running, you know. Good thing it's in game because you know, my huffing and puffing would not work too well in a game like this. But overall, we're going to see the zone pulling south. A lot of these teams are already down there, but ASE and a few others are still in this north region. But it looks like there's a lot of space to rotate into that north side of the south circle. But at the end of the day, all that space that is available is open. There's no buildings in that spot. There's like maybe one building, and for 3 teams in one building, that's not going to work too well. So now we're going to see if maybe they craft another banner or they figure it out for SEMO, but they've been running this entire game. I'd be definitely looking for an inhaler near me.
Think that would be a legendary drop in the game of Apex? Common drop, maybe?
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking this economy, it could be a legendary. Maybe a mythic, even.
Ooh. That'd be good. That'd be good. That's why you gotta go run Lifeline every game. You just get instant care packages. Use it for end game, you know, playing it like a crevice or, you know, playing it like natural cover. It all works out well in the end. John J. Apex shooting just to negate some of this potential shots on them. Smiley, though, taking some engagements here, or maybe taking some damage. Purdue Dreamer back in the game, taking some shots on this other team. I believe this was Purdue versus Maverick Purple.
We have Purdue here, and they do have one completely dead, and then that Mad Maggie at Purple Shield is a force to be reckoned with. Concord, it's Concord Esports versus Purdue, and Concord decides to just, you know, let the battle settle. Maybe try again. They do have that Loba, so they are able to craft and hit that respawn, but a lot of crafting and respawning. I don't know if there's going to be any respawn beacons left available.
Yeah, it's not going to be likely, and the thing is the respawn beacon that they went to, nope, I guess they found one. But they're going to try to craft some banners maybe here from the black market if that's a possibility. Oh, they're just going to go on a blimp here. It's not a respawn beacon. It was a redeploy after all. And both these teams, again, it looks like a clean engagement from Concord, though, right? They saw a team respawn a member of their team back into the lobby, and then, so they're up a number. But in that instance, they had 2 members of their team that were blue and purple shield, and they just hit ridiculous amounts of shots. And for those things to occur at the same time equals Concord Esports' advantage was actually a disadvantage the entire time. Now we see an engagement here. People landing below Maverick Purple, and they're hot off a win streak. the Crypto ultimate happening as well. Maverick Purple loses their fuse. The member of the team that won them their last game, and Kaiser U is now looting this box in front of the other team above them.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get that finish, because if not, that's just another piece of intel. Though you can have that down fuse just pinning like crazy. He's here, he's here. Swing now, swing now. But
That's
yeah,
true.
I do believe that if they full send it here, they are going to go up against the Sheila. No nades. It does seem like Kaiser does not have any nades in their back pocket, but they do have these catalyst Qs, and I can do a little bit of poke damage here. They're just going to full send it against the Sheila. He's going to get the knock onto the Rampart. They're going to get the knock onto the Bangalore, but the catalyst is going to get the finish onto the fuse, and that is Maverick out.
Yeah, Maverick, the last lobby winners, but Kaiser U making quick work of them with those dual-wielding classics or dual-wielding P shooters, because those dual-wielding, like, those guns used to be so bad it was not even worth your time to pick them up. It'd rather just take a fist fight than take those guns with you. And now that you can dual-wield both those and the Mozambiques, they have become some of the best weapons in the game. Few fights now happening here in the lower part of your screen, though. The Watson walls helping keep this high ground in their favor. Anytime they go up the zip line, you immediately have to shoot towards the right or the left into an immediate stun, and so for that is great cover for this team. Two teams fighting, though. Purdue is one of them. Dreamer down to 1 HP yet again. Senior Bombs trying to find the elimination on this low HP target. Lucky Aragon taking some fights here as well. Purdue Apex, only one member of their team, and they're getting live pinged. John Jay got a finish. Now they have a potential shield swap. They're going to try to get this finish as well. Some Mad Maggie Qs are happening to try to keep them in this particular spot. Not much looting can happen here. The knock isn't going to give them that refresh. And the Bangalore is 1 HP, staying in zone. It's not looking good for Purdue Apex or this other team, because they fought before the zone had closed. And now Southern Miss is hearing all this ruckus, and they want to get involved. Big elimination. Purdue Apex now fully eliminated from the lobby. Some healing happening. They're trying to scout it out. They can't fight into where this other member of this team is. Are they on the low ground, high ground? But Southern Miss in a great spot nonetheless.
Southern Miss played that so well, too. As those four teams were fighting there, all they had to do was launch that Conduit ultimate and just just wait it out. I mean, that's just beautiful timing, beautiful patience. If I had a Conduit ultimate there, I would have been like, we're all pushing that as soon as we can. But they played that super slow, got the hit on that, was it a Mad Maggie at the end? And then just take their KP and move on.
I believe that was a Mad Maggie Q that was kind of disrupting the healing that was happening, and so then they accidentally canceled their healing, and then when they went into zone, they didn't prioritize running. They like went to heal again, and then it was just not fast enough, and they got knocked by Storm, and then Southern Miss only had to play that one member remaining, and it was just all scrambling around, hoping for placements in a spot where there was a third party waiting for two single players. Really good spot for Southern Miss to be.
And I do want to get your input here on WFU Apex, their team comp here. Does seem like they are prioritizing mobility over having overall players. I mean, without a support legend, if your teammate gets knocked in an unfavorable position, you're just unable to craft them, and you're left playing the game in a 2v3 situation against everybody else. I mean, is mobility really that worth not having a support legend?
I've coached teams that are like, you know, it really depends on what you're looking for, but I like my team members being on the most comfortable picks that they have, and if they genuinely have zero flexibility, I don't want to ever force that on any player. And although there's always like good meta, sometimes it just doesn't make sense. If they've played one thing for like hundreds and hundreds of hours, it would take hundreds and hundreds of hours to get them to make even sense of that new character, even though they're better. And so sometimes it's just better in a collegiate scene to just allow your teammates or members of your team to just pick their comfort agent.
Yeah, and it does look like Southern Miss is going to get another teamfight win, eliminating Mercury. And it's like it is like clockwork. I mean, they just pop that conduit ultimate, push him out of zone, and then just let the fresh pickings come to them. I mean, beautiful playstyle. I have no notes.
Yeah, really good. And then they spammed through smoke, tracking them pretty well based off of the movement they saw prior to the smokes happening. And then it worked out in their favor. Good Nox. Now we're seeing University of Idaho Vandals taking some engagements here on this team. Bunkered. But the Rampart keeps breaking these walls, and they keep putting up the temporary walls with that Catalyst. So they're kind of just playing cat and mouse, breaking and reforging these doors consistently, and it is funny to see.
And it's not on a cooldown. It doesn't take away from your kit. It's just a nice little passive that you can do. I see no problem in doing it. Maybe a little bit annoying, but I feel like if they keep it up, they can really. Maybe they just get tired. Maybe the Sheila's just gonna get over it at one point. The trigger finger is gonna get cramping.
Well, I mean, Sheila only has a certain amount of ammo, if I'm correct. I could be wrong. And then you have to just wait for it to recharge, or is that mistaken?
I think it's the handheld version has a limited amount of ammo, but if you put it down, it'll have unlimited ammo. It just needs to take some time. It takes like what, 5 seconds to reload, and then just keep on doing that. But grenade here got away from it last second.
But another door has been broken. Same building.
Right. Southern Miss is being very oppressive here. I mean, red shields, they know their rotations, they know what cooldowns they have, they know what they can and can't do, and I think taking these fights with a lot of confidence is really going to be just going to be a game changer here, as Purdue University isn't in contention anymore, so Southern Miss might be like, hey, this is our time. Last time was a fluke. It's all three of us now in the top 3.
Yeah, Southern Miss is definitely in the spot to win the lobby. They have a good balance of these weapons, but I'm a little bit nervous for when Ozenboy will have to take some of these mid-fight engagements. I mean, they have the Sentinel, they have golden dual-wielding Mozambiques, which should be enough, but the reload sometimes takes a while to get off. So being only a 1 weapon in a close engagement versus 2 in the hands of other members of their squad, they're really relying on the carrying to happen on the other members of their squad when a close fight engagement occurs.
Absolutely, and I mean, I'm interested to see how aggressive Vandal is going to be here, as one of them is still on blue shield, while the other one, I believe they have purple, but that because of the controller buff, it is appearing as red. But I mean, having only one player with that much extra shield. One knock here with Southern University gets those Hemlock shocks, connects them very, very well here. Massive shots from 1,000 years away, connecting, doing good damage here. Wish my massive shots did that, but
yeah, a lot of shots coming to play here. Big zoom happening from TH Ailes, and Southern Miss is going to utilize the high ground now that they were able to get here with Pathfinder's utility. Now they're sitting on top of one of the members of this team while pincering the other. Gonna take the high ground again, a different angle this time, less cover, a dangerous spot to be in if you're the Pathfinder. They're gonna decide to fall onto the low ground teams. This Devotion, red, and just absolutely doing insane amounts of damage. And Southern Miss is your Apex Legends victories.
yeah, I mean, beautiful play there. I mean, if I was that Pathfinder, I probably would have shielded up first, but as you can see, that what they did just won them that fight. That red Devotion has been good. Very, very good. I can see why it's a red gun now.
Well, let's take a look at the replays here and kind of see some of that fun action that we just saw near the end, but also see a all-encompassing what happened early here. Yeah, this fight with SEMO Apex Ruby, they lost so many members early and they were just playing catch-up the rest of the lobby. What did you see?
I'm just surprised that Vandals weren't able to get a lot of Evo after that initial fight. This fight from Maverick, I mean, Kaiser, you just being super aggressive and being like, it's either we take out that Sheila or we die trying, and full sending it. I respect it as Catalyst with the Akimbo P2020s. I mean, it was just beautiful to see overall.
I honestly thought he had the hammer points this entire time, and to see that they didn't have the hammer points and they did that amount of damage is pretty crazy to me. So really good job from that team. But then Southern Miss, again, they are the only members of this entire lobby that have red shield going into an end zone with 3 squads. And so overall, just really, really good job from Southern Miss playing these fight and engagements properly, pincering members of the other squads pretty well. And I was nervous because Pathfinder definitely goes down early here. But again, that red devotion carries the entire fight, works out well in Southern Miss's favor. Really well done.
Absolutely, and I am excited to see how will we be transitioning if some team comps are going to be moving into some different metas here as we are moving on into Stormpoint. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, the next map, Stormpoint, a lot of the time I see certain, if your coach is saying meta to your team and kind of getting you to play the best legends for that map, then you're going to see a complete swap in some of these teams' compositions. But again, at the collegiate level, you typically are telling your team to play their most comfort pick and trying to force it, unless it's something that is absolutely a horrible legend in the meta and it's just so beyond nerfed that it's not even worth your time and effort. And that doesn't typically happen. And so for this, I'm going to see some shifting, but a lot of the collegiate scene, you're going to just see them picking the same thing no matter the map. And so who knows? We'll see how it goes. But we're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be right back into the action in just a few moments. I got to go fix my hair. Welcome back again to the ECAC broadcast. I'm PT Loser. I'm also with Saucy to my right. And welcome again, Saucy, to the broadcast. I appreciate everyone being here. And we're going to take a look at some predictions. Honestly, has anything changed from your predictions thus far, Saucy? I don't know if I gave my full predictions, but I typically lean towards the Vandals as I am a man of habit and I mentioned them once. And so now I have to stay true to my word and just vote for them the rest of the time. What are you feeling about Saucy?
Well, anybody who's watching this might think that, he might be swayed or Southern Miss might be winning him over, but I've been this in the long haul, and behind the scenes, Purdue University are usually the teams that I go towards as far as fly camming goes. So Purdue University will always have my heart, will always have my vote. So I am remaining unfazed, and I do believe that Purdue University can at least pull out something big in these next 2 games.
I agree. Purdue, they're typically trying to do their best, and typically, honestly, they're they're ego challenging a lot of these teams. And so Southern Miss, they did a great job in the last few games, but we're in for the long haul here at ECAC. And so we're going to see how these teams continuously climb and lower their positionings as weeks and weeks show up and happen. And again, maps change, and so do playstyles with these teams. And now we're on to Storm Point from World's Edge, and now these teams have different landing spots, different legend pools, and we shall see how these teams fight.
Southern Miss already starting off early, getting in these drop boxes from these beasts. I did see earlier when we were looking at that map that a few teams were actually going to the down beast, so I'm very interested to see if anything is going to show up in the kill feed on the top right here pretty soon, or maybe those teams disengaged. But I mean, does look like a pretty slow start after all. Nothing wrong with that. Everyone loves more Apex, so the longer we can go, the better.
And one thing, it seems like this map is a little bit bigger than World's Edge, or at least seemingly based off of loop patterns and rotations. It seemed a little bit more congested based off of people's landing spots early. And I think teams are deciding to play a little bit differently in this lobby and play more towards those late game rotations. But as I say that, I'm eating my words, as University of Idaho is taking on another team above them. Forza's going to be in a tough spot here, maybe a 3v1 action, unless they decide to play it a little bit slower.
She was out here and putting up these walls, trying to bunker down, get their health up, but Vandal's in a bit of a tough spot. I mean, there's no real safe space to really heal here, but it does look like they are going to have that space to at least try and, you know, take a breather, reset, and then try to see if we can find an opening pick here. Does look like there's going to be a rotation. One of them might stay on the high ground as the other ones fight. I lied. All three are going to drop down and try and get a different vantage point here onto the Vandals. Akron taking no time at all, giving them zero space.
A member of Tony Tree Cleaner gets an engagement here, but Sheila's unlocked, immediately thirsted, gets the shield back. And again, there's not much healing to go around here early. Not many cells in the hands of these teams. Revive possible? I do not know. Or it looks like Camsville got eliminated. A grenade occurs. Again, a revive would be pretty crazy here. But Michael and a few members of maybe another team are getting involved in this fight. Chase Killer in the building alone with their thoughts. And Sonny Canton, yeah, now involved in this fight. Vandals, Apex are no longer alone after that team fight. Grenades incurring and not very much HP for Darth Sandius to be able to live through. So many walls being put up. Just a tough situation if you are Vandals Apex.
Right, and Chase Killer is in a bit of a picky situation here, as he doesn't know how many teams are closing in on his position. He just knows, oh, I see enemies. I gotta fight them all off. And an interesting pick here. I don't know if he picked it up or not, but usually when he does this Evo upgrades, he tends to go for more ammo. But in this scenario, he went for more Sheila uptime. So that was very interesting.
Speed to engage the Sheila, as they don't have much any other weapons to really choose from. The Sheila getting unlocked here though, and damage is incurring. Vandals Apex got the wipe on Sonny Canton.
And just in time too, because that card for Darth Snadius was about to run out. So I mean, good timing. They just had to full send it. They didn't want to leave their boy behind. But I mean, like I said, that Sheila's just been ripping through players this entire match. So
really good job from all these teams trying to get these engagements early. And again, that Sheila was the absolute legend when it came to that engagement. They got probably 3 eliminations alone with just that Sheila, and that's such a good effective ultimate early, because every other ultimate takes time to charge. You got to get percentage up, and after drop, immediately having something of that caliber in a fight and an engagement is really, really good.
Absolutely, and Southern Miss in a bit of a tricky situation here as they have one down. They are getting the revive, and they also get the knock onto A1 Headman. Maybe gonna go for the finish here. Bangalore Ultimate slowing him down just a smidgen. Got those Akimbo Mozambiques out, has the flat line. Just waiting to find an opening here.
Really good fights and engagements from Southern Miss, though. They tried to fight again after immediately winning a duel and a pretty much a knock turned into a finish from that ultimate, but they were so ready for another fight, and then a Bangalore ultimate just absolutely diminished that hopes and that dreams of the Pathfinder tap strafing, bouncing over and around, got stunned, and then he said, I guess I'll try another day. Absolutely. Southern Miss gets knocked. That engagement happening from fails again. But although they get knocked, they're not out by any means. And I believe they got a squad wipe or at least another box in their care.
All right, it does seem like I'm eating my words a little bit here. As I said before, it was a slow start, but I mean, we're not even the first ring down, and there are only 11 squads left. Keeping in mind, there were only 18 squads to begin with, but still, these teams are dropping like flies faster than we're used to. So it's very interesting to see how Stormpoint, while it may seem like a bigger map, players are playing it like it is smaller, more confined, and just taking these fights left and right.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm eating my words too because it's such a spacious map, but that means when it's a little bit more spacious, third parties are maybe more evident, and so when an engagement does happen, they're going to cover as much space as possible to get to that point in time.
Absolutely, and it does look like Southern Miss aren't taking any prisoners. They took a few pop shots at them. The few said, I'm going to throw some grenades at you, and Southern Miss turns around and goes, nope, none of that. We're going to pop the, excuse me, what is his name again? The smiley robot man.
Oh, Pathfinder.
Pathfinder,
yeah.
Right. They said, all right, pop the Pathfinder ult, hunt this team down, no prisoners. You've poked the bear with your stick, and you just better hope that it's long enough for you to run away.
And Viz gets a knock, or at least a full elimination here onto Maverick. And so a lot of these teams are just looking to absolutely contest and keep contesting as long as elimination points exist. And for us at ECAC, those points will always be on the roster for things. And so placement points are typically very helpful, but elimination points are guaranteed from map to map. And so you see that happen, you get confidence, and wow, Southern Miss are running with it.
And it did look like Purdue just got a full wipe there onto Zai, which is very unfortunate. But like I said, Purdue, my Kings, or my royalty, my monarch. I don't want to assume anything here, but you know, I'm rooting for them, and they just got some more KP and some more placement. So I'm interested to see if they can continue and try and get this finish onto OSO, excuse me.
Yeah, OSO. Looking at an interesting composition here. Maybe they'll have me eat my words again, as I've been doing consistently this broadcast. But overall, Newcastle and a breathing gaseous airman or Caustic is very interesting to have both of them.
The Valkyrie and the Caustic. Oh, so
Mozambique's getting very active here. Captain Loggy, see you later. USM continuing their streak of dominance and absolute, I don't know, chaos with their destruction and verve.
Right, and I think it's really interesting that they're not running the Recon Legend, but they do have that Pathfinder who's level 1 Evo, or level 2 Evo, excuse me. You have the option of ring consoles or survey beacons, and they're just popping these survey beacons and just finding their next target. So I pray for any team that is within range of that survey beacon of USM, because you're their next target, and they will not stop until they get that finish. I mean, as evident as this team fight right here.
I completely agree. I would not want to be anywhere near Southern Miss and a beacon where they literally see red dots on their screen of where I was last. I would be very upset, and as we're talking about upset, everyone on Southern Miss now has that red shield and gold. Debaraka, you have been eliminated from the lobby, and your loot is now theirs. And now God Awful is really running as fast as they can away from this situation. Shots happening from University of Southern Miss, but honestly, I think they're just going to decide to run this member of this team down till the ends of the earth. And I know Thales will be doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not fair at one point. It's scary going into this lobby knowing that a team like this exists with this amount of aggression. I would just try my best and try and bunker down, but it does look like Thales is caught in a little bit of an unadvantageous position here as he gets shot out by 2 positions. So he's like, all right, you know what, maybe I need to take it down a little bit. But he does see somebody drop onto the right of him. Does this fight happen, or is he just going to try and run away as his conduit ults and he just grapples out of there trying to reset?
Yeah, got a lot of information, and like you mentioned, they have no recon agents, but because you have the Pathfinder that gets that natural kind of bird's eye view, UAV inbound situation happening, then it kind of leads to a success for that team. University of Southern Miss kind of finding a random member of another squad over there and another trio and deciding, hey, I don't know if this solo player is the solo player we saw earlier. We kind of just saw their legs running through the forest. We don't know who is on that legend, and so we're going to make sure that we're not contesting this 3v2, 3v1 when there's another team above on this high ground. We're just going to rotate out, and it is OSO. And an opportune spot, I mean, 2 purples and a blue is enough of an advantage that you could try to take a fight on some of these teams. And it looks like another team is rotating in via this zip line into another team, and there is going to be chaos and carnage happening here very soon.
And I think OSO kind of has the right idea here, because if you think about how aggressive USM has been playing, you have the Caustics to stop their initial engagement, and if that doesn't work, you can always win by running away with that Valkyrie ultimate. So I think that these counter swaps are a very good idea as far as trying to counter the aggression of USM.
It's really good to counter that aggression, and again, USM was in a good spot, and now there's a member of multiple members in this building. The USM was trying to be on the top of the building, but there's another team rotating in. This end zone has to be close because there's so many different teams in this small box. Purdue now taking an engagement here. Silver Hawk gets a knock, or at least a full elimination onto USM Thales, and so that's that Pathfinder down. No more natural UAV info. Purdue in a good high ground spot. No one's really fully contesting this yet. There's not much to hide on besides this one slight cover on the top right portion, and you see multiple members of this Purdue squad going back and forth between this spot.
Just trying to find the angle onto the Lions here. Is it Lions or OSO? I think it might be the Lions, as OSO might be bunkering up in that other building, but you just find a peak, a toe. It's the slightest bit of damage. I'm really rooting for Purdue here to just win this out. I mean, we do have Purdue Dreamer as the kill leader of the lobby. It's what you like to see. What I like to see. I'm very biased, but
I mean, overall, they're in a good spot here. I think they're wary, and they keep spam pinging the locations where they could get obliterated, and so they're definitely worried about forcing an engagement here. Good damage overall. The Rampage not working in the favor for NU Apex Lions. They've been eliminated, and your kill leader remains.
And it does look like OSO did, as soon as that fight started, USM did take a fight with OSO, and USM got eliminated by OSO. What a turnaround.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, the Southern Miss lost their Pathfinder, and so they're down a member, and so that happens to incur. God Awful, still this solo player, Fuel Apex. They've been a solo for quite some time. They're trying to play quiet and away from all the eyes of the lobby, and I think this might be the perfect spot if you're God Awful. There's a few members on this low ground, just crouching around, and a few other teams in the lobby, and we see the Vandals there, and I'm smiling from ear to ear knowing that Chase the Killer was feeling confident earlier in this game, and hopefully they're still feeling confident for this end game. Krabby Patty in the hands of Kimchi, 140.
Big ups on OSO. And like I said before, I mean, I don't know if that was because I was right. Maybe it could have been a little bit of Caster's curse or Caster's luck in this case. But, I mean, this comp did seem to be the thing that stopped USM's tyrannous reign and their super, super long just rush on every other team that they came into contact with. I don't know how it happened. I just know that it happened, and I like to be right. But I also don't mind being wrong.
Yeah. Southern Miss, again, different maps will become different, but overall, they've been doing a really good job taking engagements on their own accord, and it just seemed to be a really, really close fight contest where they rotated into zone pretty late because they've been just chasing teams. And so when you have a late game rotation, a lot of these buildings, like I mentioned prior, there's a lot of clusters of good spots, but it's really open. So the clustered of good spots become highly contested, and that's when those fights take place that we've seen throughout this map thus far.
This Watson Gen on the edge of zone as my boys at Purdue are being pressed by this other team. I mean, it's not looking good for us, but I have hope they're going to figure something out. That is going to be Deboraka out of the game as of for now. I mean, we can still craft, we can still respawn Beacon, but I don't think the chances of that are very high. I have faith.
I think they're definitely looking for a 2 against whatever dream. And I think Idaho Vandals are in a good spot. OSO is in a good spot. And also, we've seen throughout this map, pretty much, you know, not necessarily dominating the competition, but getting the eliminations they need to survive, and then leaving these teams to revive. So this lobby has been packed with a lot of teams. Senior Bombs trying to take this high ground. John Jay is able to as well, and this high ground is good enough for now. The same box we mentioned prior, that top right box is really the only thing that's viable in this high ground spot. Purdue Apex looking to rotate in. You need to eventually take some different angles here. Silly Goose and a few members of their squad just using natural cover. They just revived Silly Goose in that spot because they got knocked by the Krabby Patty. So we'll see how this all works out in the favor of Purdue. Still looking to break these shields. OSO still in this mid-ground location. Bunch of climbing, incurring. Good damage, white damage. There's no shield left on that member. Some good damage from this Volt. Only 25 ammo left. They need to loot up before this potential third party incurs.
Right, and like I said, OSO, they found it. They found the pick. They know what to do. Bunker up, you know, play it super safe, and then as soon as somebody makes that first mistake, they're going to be the first ones to capitalize off of that. Purdue University, it does look like they are going to be pushed down a little bit here by the Vandals, but with this Catalyst onto that high ground, I believe that they are going to be able to reset and find some space here to work with. They also have a couple of grenades in their back pocket. I believe they still have that evac tower as well. I just want to see how that's going to be used in this final fight, if it's going to be used at all, as all the teams here are going to try and collapse on this. It does look like Chase Killer from the Vandals is going to get caught out here. Good smoke from their Bangalore, but is it going to be enough for him to rotate back into the safe spot?
Maybe not the safe spot, but enough to get off a shield battery as they rotate in, and the shield battery must have happened because they're now back on some purple shields. But again, Purdue Apex, although they're down a member, they're in a really good spot here. Everyone has red shields, and they're in the high ground location. These two teams have to battle it out for the low ground or the inside of this building. And although University of Idaho Vandals are in that mid-ground spot, they're controlling the space really well with that Sheila. This is, again, kind of a foreshadowing of what we saw earlier, where the Sheila was coming into play in this little mid-ground location, and a lot of damage was happening. Big damage from Forza, but 1 HP in a dream now. Vandals are going to have to conjure up some health before they engage these teams. Purdue in the high ground, and Chase the Killers alone on their lonesome in the low ground, and they've been knocked. Idaho Vandals in this crevice. OSO is going to have to rotate out this building,
Purdue,
and I
please.
think
Purdue, please, they're right there. They're right there, please. Yeah, Arc Stars, I like it. I like the
Arc
Arc
Star,
Stars.
if it incurs some damage, big damage. They're both stunned, and without shield now, these barrels are trying to give some lack of sight lines for these members, and now Purdue's dropping from the high ground. Big damage occurring on all sides. Vandals, Apex, been eliminated. 1v1 situation. OSO in a good spot, and that is your Apex Legends champions in a good low ground location. OSO able to run down some other teams and then fire on all cylinders into this endgame location where Vandals finally had the impact of being down 1 member.
Yeah, I mean, Purdue, I'm proud of you guys. Got rid of the Vandals. You play second. Vandals play third. That's all I'm going to say. But
Okay.
Hey, no beef between the casters. But OSO did play that very well. Just playing it super slow, throwing out those caustic traps whenever you had them on cooldown. I mean, just eliminating any potential space because Storm was closing in. They're not going to have the building anymore. Field's open, but if you throw some smokes down there, field's not open anymore. And, you know, that poison tick damage did a lot in the fight. I think Purdue was able to get a few knocks in the middle of that fight, but it wasn't enough because they just didn't have any leftover health. They had the shield, but once those shields are cracked and you have no health left, there's nothing you can do.
I completely agree, and I don't think we saw the caustic ultimate happen there, but if we did, I don't think it was enough still in that end game location. OSO playing really well in that low ground spot, and it was, again, everyone playing cat and mouse for the same location. Everyone wanted to stay in the cover of the building as long as possible and rotate last. No one even, like, there was a Newcastle using the normal shield, the normal Q, and then they didn't have ultimate or something because they didn't want to take that space, or they just didn't trust that maybe they would ult outside the zone and they're worried about that. But overall, every team playing as slow as possible. And the only reason why Vandals, I feel like, Purdue didn't pull it off at the end was because they were finally down that member, and that HP disadvantage is heavy when it comes to those end game locations. Great job from the team that pulled it off.
Absolutely. I think Purdue did get their ones. At least those 2 players did get their ones, and if they had that last player up, I think that they would have been at an advantage. But, I mean, like I said before, the smokes were really good. The poison was out. But, I mean, OSO, really impressive showing here as, you know, they found the method. They found what works at stopping these really hard-hitting teams. And, you know, as he's coming in with these really hard hitters, they just put up a metal wall and say, you're not going anywhere. We're the ones. We're going to be the ones to stop you. So, you know, congrats to OSO for winning that map.
Let's take a look at the replays from that entire map and see how everything panned out through the progression of this match. And this is Akron and Sunny Canton taking on this Sheila and Vandals, pulling it off in the end. And then Southern Miss just really dominating. We followed them the entire lobby as they went around the geographic location of Storm Point. We saw so many engagements on their advantages, right? A lot of the time they were down in a 3v2, another 3v2, a 3v1, or a 3v2 that was a 3v3 where they got the knock. And so we saw all of these advantages play out, and it finally comes to the end where they're not in an advantage, or they go into a building that was reconned, and so then you see that happen at the end where Southern Miss, we were following them the entire lobby. We were hoping for this, you know,
Kaiser Yunar Soaring, Purdue Apex 2, Maverick Purple, and Southern Miss Intel. And I believe that the KP here is so much more valuable than some people want to give credit for as like placement points, like compared to placement points. But I mean, that KP is really, really, really strong on the side of USM.
And all those replays, again, thank you to everyone there at Advanced GG, the best gamer supplement out there. If you want to fuel up your game, you know where to find it. Advanced.gg. and you'll find all of those amazing supplements for your esports careers. And again, for ECAC, we also have updates not only on broadcasts, but on your local social medias. We have a Twitter at ECAC_esports on Twitter, and you can get all the updates about this tournament and other games, as well as Valorant, Overwatch, and many more that ECAC provides. As we get underway here, we take a look at this beautiful map, but now we get a bird's eye view into your Storm Point. A very fun map. It's my personal favorite. I like landing down Beast. I would love to see if we see those engagements happening early. Down Beast, very contested, and the Mill reminds me always of Star Wars, very contested as well. Where's your favorite spot to land, Saucy?
I think I'm a fan of Zeus Station, not for any particular reason other than that's the one that they say the most when I watch ALGS. So I mean, that's just me personally. But
Yeah.
Like I said, I am not a good player in any case of the word. I am just a player ever. And ever since, the only reason why I started actually playing Apex is because of this production. And it has not been good on my mental health. I'm not going to lie to you.
I'm glad you trust in us here to, you know, kind of really describe how toxic sometimes the gaming community can be. But having a stage like this is unlike any other, and it can be very fun at times, both as a player and a caster and a coach. And so seeing these teams, though, taking the high ground early, just a push of a button and you zoom up to the skies here and look at it. It's 1, 2, 3 teams all landing here at this beautiful location. And last time Idaho Vandals came out on top. Who knows if it will be them this time.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think really smart play there from the Crypto to get that beacon scan just to know where everybody is exactly. Get a layout of what everyone's doing. And it does look like Grindworthy and his team are going to disengage here, but Boom, with the Butcher here, they're going to have this high ground. They're going to lock it down and say, hey, you guys need to get out or we can take this fight. And then Vandals aren't taking no for an answer. They're going to fight for this.
I think Chase the Killer is probably calling, I got blue shields. We got the advantage here. But again, it's not blue shields. It's really just the additional 25 shields for the default for these controller-styled legends.
Lions coming
Lions showing up. They heard a lot of teams having a raucous over here, and they decide, hey, we're down to have a fun here at the last, map of this week in the tournament. And you see Idaho Vandals saying, yep, you can have them, man. I'm out of here.
And look at that Grindworthy and Elstat might be working their way up as they find themselves a little bit of loot here. Could be perception or the perspective, though. Never mind. They are getting farther away, excuse me. And does look like Vandals is going to take some pop shots as they're taking their leave. We'll back up, but we're gonna poke you a little bit before we do. And now Akron is going to make the rotation here deeper into zone.
Yeah, zone's definitely somewhere you want to be at this point in time. Let's take a look at the mega map one more time. The mega map will be very helpful to see where this first rotation of zone is pulling. It's pulling south, and that doesn't surprise me. It typically likes leaning towards the south side of things, but that means all these teams at Zeus Station, your location that you like to land, North Pad, is in the north, and so for that reason, you will have to go south. And a lot of these teams, OSO was the team that went to Down Beast. So much loot happening there, and now we're going to take a look at some of this top right gameplay. It looks like Akron is trying to get out of dodge, but they might go into another team here fairly soon, and they're only on gray shields. Some teams fighting here, and again, it's Akron going into a place where they don't quite know what to expect, and that means Tony the Tree Cleaner almost got brought down into a box, but this time had enough of HP to get back to neutral, but now they're just putting in some bandages to heal up, but Akron didn't get the ability to fully loot up on those teams. And so now they're going into this engagement with not much health, not too much ammo, but Akron gets one of their members knocked, and then the member of another team knocked as well, traded even. Another knock occurs. There's only one member on the squad remaining. They're going to potentially try to go for some sort of a shield swap or something, and they end up getting the Evo shields from the upgrade. Shield swap occurs, and now they can thirst the member of this team. And Akron not in the best spot. They get knocked early, but that Newcastle fully overextends for this elimination, or maybe some more damage, and they get punished.
See, and Lions, right when they think that they're out of it, with that Valkyrie ultimate, they get immediately punished from another team. Gonna get this Evo shield up, but it's not gonna be enough. Is that MSUAC? Oh, it's Sunny Canton, actually.
Sunny Canton. They're looking like, you know, other teams, the way they took that fight. They looked like Purdue there. They looked like Southern Miss. I mean, I was gonna think it was Southern Miss the way that they were playing. So really good job from Canton. They're in the bottom 20 teams, or you know, the bottom half of our tournament bracket, but they're playing like they want it.
All right, now let's talk about this, right? We got the Gibby, we got the Caustic, and we have the Rampart.
Talk about this.
This is lockdown overkill, if you ask me. I mean, Gibby shield's really good, especially with that Gibby ultimate being so isolated and being in such a small range. As well with the Caustic being that that gas, and then just the Rampart to rip apart shields and everyone that's unfortunately comes into contact with them. Talk about it. Let's talk about it.
I guess let's talk about it. It's horrible. I don't know. I wish I could, you know, say it's something great. I mean, for end games, it's minimal rotations most of the time, but you're really playing for rotations. Well, any of the legends it takes to find those rotations, you can't really scan too many of those beacons. You just need to figure it out. And look, it's pouring far north, but luckily for WFU, they're already in a nice spot, and they're in the next zone. All they need to do is bunker up, but they're, I don't know. I just don't like what's on my screen. What are your thoughts, Saucy?
I mean, it is interesting to see that the Storm did take a bit of an eastern path, but I mean, me personally, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix, and I want to definitely see if this comp is broken or not. But personally, I'm a little disappointed. I wish they were played something a little bit more brawly, but you know, as we know, the placement points in this new style of Apex is infinitely more important, or not infinitely, but a lot more important than KP. But I mean, that doesn't stop teams like USM from absolutely swamping on other teams. Interesting Pathfinder ulti, I think is for the Evo shield. So they can get close to purples. Get 25 Evo away from purples. I guess that's worth the ultimate there. Just needs to get a few more shots onto another player. But speaking of rotations, I do want to take a look at this mega map just to see where everybody is going to be. How many teams do we have left here? We have about 11 squads left, and a lot of teams who were trying to go down into the southern parts of the map got completely just 180 by the second placement. So now they're all trying to go eastbound and trying to find their way home.
Yeah, I definitely agree. This zone was pulling south, and it baited the entire lobby to go farther south, and it actually is pulling top right again. And so this zone is very hard to predict. If you're these players, maybe if you're a pro player, you just know all the possible end games for these maps. But at the end of the day, this zone is not very good for some of these members. But Sunny Canton are sitting in a good spot here. They got that one elimination, but sitting on purple shields here from Delta will bring that confidence they need to force some engagements here with this Newcastle. You can take those fights. They don't have the ultimate for now, but I mean, they're sitting pretty here on this high ground location, and they can keep scanning this recon survey beacon to find out where people are and where maybe this next rotation of zone may incur.
Is that how that works? That's broken if that's how that works. Can you keep on?
From the recon, they usually scan and see where specifically, like it scans the red dots and it shows where everyone is on the map.
Yeah, but can you pop it more than once?
I believe each rotation of zone once.
Wow, that's crazy.
So once the zone closes again, they can scan it again.
That's cool. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, but it's only once per rotation, so I mean it's still really, really strong to have that high ground spot. So having that Newcastle ultimate there is very, very good and very strategic from that team.
And you know, it's kind of nice that the Valkyrie will show you while you're mid-flight where everything is, so you can tell your team, hey, it's not safe.
I
let's
like
not
that
go there,"
passive.
right?
Really good passive from Valkyrie.
I think that was a good idea to make her a recon legend now, as opposed to how they were before. But it does look like the Caustic Rampart team is gonna have one down. Surprisingly, are they gonna get punished for this? Maybe Caustic is in a safer position now, but he's gonna peek out and be like, "Listen, major spam." Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. And as you see, the specific situation that WFU was playing for, they were still dumbfounded that somebody would push their building, and it just came down to aim. And so, unfortunately, the Caustic somehow still gets dropped onto with their barrels going off without them really realizing it. And that comes out from kind of the overconfidence of having 3 bunker agents. You don't think that these members of these teams are just going to push into the building, and they do anyways. It's not much. It's mostly info when you have the Caustic. It's the slowing potential of those utilities and much more. And now you see Southern Miss getting involved here. And, you know, second part of that name, they don't do very often. Southern Miss. Taking out another squadron here. Now kill leader in their favor.
This is Southern Miss world, and we're just living in it. We're just glad to be a part of it. But, like, I mean, I know that sounds like we're taking some shots at WFU. We respect it. Respect the comp, but we also respect the people who pushed you just a little smidgen more. Nothing wrong with playing the game. You know, if the game allows you to do it, why not try it out? But it does look like just that aggression is gonna be what's gonna take us into the next part of this game.
I agree. Kaiser, you taking some pot shots onto this team. The one thing about the conduit or catalyst wall is that you can shoot through it still. So sometimes if you get some damage ticking happening, then you can still spam that spot. And all it really does is provide that cover. And the one thing I like about a lot of these teams is they see this, you know, beacon of hope. They shoot it down immediately. Really good reaction from these teams to try to break out that. And if anything, it does not break it, but it loses its percentage that it sticks around. It's not a permanent basis. It's a temporary rotationary piece. And Kaiser, I just don't know why I'm seeing P2020s try to track somebody on the zip line, but I respect it nonetheless.
They're gold. I respect it. And like Krabby Patty's in the hands of 60 here. With both of his teammates down, maybe might be able to get the res on here. It does not look like it. The Bangalore is closer to the edge of the storm, but I'm not too sure if they're going to be able to get out here. But this end zone, it looks a little barren. Not a lot of places to hide here, and it's gonna be. I'm very interested to see how the end part of this map plays out. It does look like it did pull a little bit more north, where a little bit more cover is available. A little bit more natural cover, so the players won't be have to making their own. But I am very interested to see how they're going to play this with multiple levels to this end zone, and not a lot of access to them. There's only really 1 or 2 ways that you're very able to access this end zone. It did look like they were able to get the res down south onto the Bangalore, but isn't going to be enough to win the fight.
I don't think so. And if you are going into Southern Miss, I would be very sad for you. And it's Wild Wing on the end of it this time. Fails, taking an engagement there, ziplining in, and now utilizing the ultimate for rotations. And I like this little buff that they've made with Pathfinder. It used to be that the Pathfinder was a normal zipline, and now it's this speedy one that makes these rotations ever more quick. Right, and so it's really great to see that from Southern Miss, utilizing the new kind of buffs. And again, I'm saying new in regards to my experience in the game, which was the beta. And so Pathfinder may have had this buff for a lot longer than I've been maybe alive, but Southern Miss is in a good spot here. The electric. It's just RGB on that thing apparently. Right. But OSO is really a good spot in the left side here. And I don't know if Southern Miss knows where OSO is. OSO's been pretty quiet, and they've been tucking around this red pill and the left underside of this location. USM deciding to just play in the bottom low ground, fuel in the high ground, but not quite good on shields. But I guess they might know where OSO is based off of a lot of these barrels and a lot of this utility from the Newcastle. And so a lot of this damage gonna just be for rotations, maybe. Not really much Evo shield to get for OSO, so maybe if Kimchi gets the 130 they desire, then they'll probably just play a little bit more passive and play around these barrels.
Right, I would go for a Hail Mary grenade here just to see if I can use something like that, but I mean, I am interested to see how OSO plays this out, as it does look like Storm isn't going to be favoring their playstyle, as it is going to go a little bit more into open space, but I mean, they still have the Legends to counter it. Let's see if history will repeat itself, or if USM is going to be able to squeak out another win here to end off the day.
I honestly want to see USM finally pull off. Well, I don't know if did they pull off a victory earlier, but USM did a really good job getting eliminations early. They had around 39 eliminations so far this tournament, and so seeing them do a little bit better for placement would be very interesting to see. But Fuel in a really good spot, but they're going to have to be the last to rotate in. I'm definitely nervous if somebody accidentally takes this Graviton cannon to the outside of the map. If you play around this spot, it'll be very nerve-wracking. Fuse utilizing some nades onto these teams. USM, only 2 members remaining. I believe one of them got knocked.
Nope.
Oh no, they just got that engagement. They won it. They're playing around this Newcastle ultimate, and now it's Fuel taking a fight onto the out rim teams of USM.
Oh,
I believe there's one more squad remaining though.
Yeah, there's gonna be the 1v1 here, and it does look like USM is going to squeak out the victory just to kill this conduit, and they are on their way home. Valkyrie, excuse me. Melee for the win. The BM in Collegiate Apex. In my Collegiate Apex games, the BM, I respect it. They deserve it. They've been on a rampage this entire tournament, so good ups to Southern USM for that win.
Yeah, I mean, great showing from Southern Miss. I was happy to see it. And again, if you're in a 3v1 situation, everyone's full with shields. That can occur sometimes, although it's a little bit of BM. Honestly, I respect it. Myself, I would love to see that more often, because, it means that you really dominated the lobby and you had the confidence and the expertise to get that happening. Honestly, Southern Miss, though, in not the best spot when the Fuel engaged them. They were down a bunch of shield. They were in a tough spot, and they were surrounded by a Fuse ultimate. Really good win conditions for the Fuel, and so them to pull it off and make it a 3v1 at the end is insane for Southern Miss. Great job overall. Again, consistently up there with eliminations, which builds confidence for those end game 3v3 situations where you just have so much more aim than usual. We're going to take a look at some replays here, but we'll be seeing you guys next week for some more ECAC Apex Legends Fall 2024 tournament. Thanks again, Saucy, for joining us this time.
Of course.
We'll see you guys next time.
See you.